Hello everyone, JDev, creator of the JDev Entertainment Network, has returned once again to do precisely what you want, which of course would be more of me, because I'm in such high demand, and quite frankly, I'm all that you're going to need, giving everyone my early, or another early, Walking Dead Season 10 episode recap video. But before I do that, it's very important, if you're not caught up with where I am recapping this early Walking Dead episode, I suggest you pay attention to that episode title, and if that's the case, then don't watch this video to stay away from any major spoilers that I might reveal. And there's some things that I need the rest of you to do. Like this video, share this video, leave me a comment with your thoughts and your overall score of the episode, and make sure you're subscribed to this channel to get all my amazing content. That's all you got to do. You don't even have to do all those things. Just one or two would be appreciated. So, The Walking Dead, Season 10, Episode number 12. The title of the episode is called Walk With Us. I just watched this on the AMC Premiere app, so I'm able to watch it at least 48 hours early, although I usually don't get to it right away. I usually wait a few hours, but pretty crazy stuff here. Now, we start off at the hilltop with the walkers on one side and the fire on the other side. We have Carol. She's elevated somewhere, shooting arrows at people. We have Judith coming out and turning into a badass and killing random walkers. And I might be going out of order with a couple of these things. We have Eugene at one point leave the battle to go back into the house that's at the hilltop to grab some of the radio equipment. We have a scene where Yumiko sees Magna. Mark out moment for me because, we thought Magna might be dead. Oh, I didn't think she was, but a lot of you did. And then we have a scene where Negan calls Beta Frowny Mac Two Knives. I think that's what he said. It was pretty hilarious. Also had some kill walker kills. There's one, I think it's a hilltop member, because they had the armor on, and he's missing like half of an arm, and Negan hits him in the head with Lucille 2.0, and then Alpha's mad that she didn't let the guy turn. And then there's another one where Negan kills with Lucille, and it was pretty good stuff. And then they leave the hilltop battle pretty quick in the episode. Like it was kind of quick. I thought the hilltop battle would be longer and more drawn out. But there's, everybody kind of scattered all over the place. We have Negan, who's wearing his Whisperer skin, out and about, and all of a sudden Aaron sees him, and his first reaction is to kill Negan because he's seen him wearing a Whisperer mask. And then a bunch of walkers come up, and then Negan's able to escape because of that. And then we see Lydia, who's kind of hobbling around the woods, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, an unmasked Negan grabs her and essentially captures Lydia. And I'm like, what the fuck? Then we have a scene with Mary, Gamma, Alden, and Angel, who are kind of split up together. And Mary's giving Alden tips on how to handle Adam, the baby. And eventually she is able to handle Adam. But then some walkers come, so they have to run and hide. They find an abandoned vehicle somewhere out in the woods, and they get into it eventually. But Magna, I was going to say Gamma, but I said Magna. Gamma/Mary gives the baby to them and then shuts the door and then goes back out, further out, and starts yelling to draw attention to herself. And then she's kind of all alone by like a lake, and she's like, kind of, I don't know what she's planning on doing. All out of nowhere, Beta shows up and stabs her in the stomach. So that was pretty crazy. She's still alive at that point, and then what she manages to do is rip some of Beta's mask off, like the bottom part of this. And then we see another Whisperer show up. Just some random Whisperer, no like name or anything. And the Whisperer says, "It's you. I know your voice." Sounded familiar. And then Beta kills the Whisperer. So Beta is obviously some celebrity. He looks the same with the little part ripped off and the mask, on. So I don't know what difference there really is at that point. But nonetheless, and then Beta actually kills Mary Gamma, and puts her up against a tree. And then eventually Mary turns because Beta wants her to join the herd, but then she's shot with an arrow by Alden, and then Beta gets away. And then we find out that Magna, yes, is indeed alive. It wasn't just her as a walker with the herd. And she's talking to Humiko, and they're talking about how they broke up and whatnot, and they're going to go their separate ways and stuff. And then Carol said something, I think, I was a little distracted during that scene, that she wants to leave her behind, and Humiko gets really mad and gets in Carol's face, and then Humiko slugs Carol right in the face. Not good. Do not touch Carol like that. You are not allowed to do that. So that was very interesting. And then we see a scene with the Daryl, Jerry, and Navila and others, but those were the three main characters were looking for the kids, and they go to the rendezvous point where Ezekiel was supposed to take the kids, and the kids aren't there. So Navila starts freaking out. Jerry starts freaking out. Daryl starts freaking out. I think Diane was with them too. Diane, the Kingdomer that won't die. I think she was originally Kingdomer. But anyway, they go back to the hilltop. I think they went back to the hilltop because then they find Ezekiel buried under he's buried under some things. And Ezekiel's like, oh, that means Earl has the kids. And sure enough, we go to a scene where Earl has all the kids at some cabin somewhere. And he says, everybody sit down, you've been good, and gives them some water. And then he goes into a separate room and puts a stake through a table. And we see that Earl has actually been bitten on the arm. So Earl's toast. Before he's able to off himself, Judith comes in there and starts to talk to him and holds his hand and says, do you want me to stay? And he's like, no, I've got support. I've got my wife Tammy and my son waiting for me. So eventually Earl does the deed, kills himself. But, of course, Judith comes back in and Earl turns. And then we see that Daryl, Jerry show up at the place. And they see all the kids except for Judith. And then Daryl goes in and then sees Judith sitting up against the wall. She took care of Earl pretty easily, or Walker Earl, I should say. And sits next to Judith and puts his arm around her and just gives her a talking to, I guess. So that was pretty good. What else do we got here? And then Negan, we have a scene with Negan talking to Alpha, and he says, the thing you've been looking for, I found it. So then Alpha and Negan go off, and as we see Lydia tied up in a chair, Negan and Alpha have a heart-to-heart. Negan is obviously trying to convince Alpha not to do anything harmful to her daughter, but Alpha wants to kill her to make an example, and Negan thinks that's not good. And then he talks to Alpha about his wife that died of cancer, and him and Alpha make out, or well, they don't make out, they kiss, I should say. And then Alpha wants to go through with it, so he leads Alpha up to a cabin, an abandoned cabin, and as this is going on, we see Lydia breaking free. So at one point we see Lydia get all the ropes out for her and run towards the door and open it. At the same time, we see Alpha go up towards the door, and Alpha opens the door and there's nobody there. She looks inside, turns around, looks at Negan. All of a sudden, Negan slits Alpha's throat. Bad. And Alpha kind of falls into his arms. Negan kisses Alpha and holds on to Alpha until Alpha dies. So they did the comic book death for Alpha. I don't know if it happened that specific way, but that's exactly what happened in the Walking Dead comic books, from what I know. So, wow, that was pretty crazy, and that was kind of it for that. And then we see lots of blood, and then we see Negan carrying a sack dripping with blood. We know Alpha's head's in there. And all of a sudden, Negan kind of throws this, the opening of he lets the head out of the bag, and it rolls over towards someone's foot. And as the camera zooms up, it's not Maggie, it's Carol. We finally have a scene with Negan and Carol. I think they had a scene in 7/16. I don't remember what the episode was called, surprisingly enough, but this was their scene, I think. Well, we don't see them each in the scene, so maybe they shot one at a time. Who knows? But Carol looks at Negan, kind of smirks, like, what took you so long? So that is the end of the episode. Negan kills Alpha. We get the death of Mary/Gamma. We get the death of Earl. Rosita somehow, some way, still makes it out of the episode. Eugene, I think, gets some of his communication device. I think Carol told him to go visit Stephanie as well. So, wow. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be, but it was still damn good. I was thinking the Hilltop stuff would have been a lot longer and a lot more drawn out. But I liked the kind of what they did with like Lydia sitting in the place, all tied up, and then gradually getting free. And then her and like Alpha walking up the door happening at the same time simultaneously, and the music picking up. And then like nobody's there. Lydia's somewhere by the hilltop based on what the smoke I see around. So I have to give this episode a 10 out of 10. I felt it was missing some things, but it still was awesome. I love the line with Negan calling Beta, what was it, Frowny Two Knives. I think that's what he said. But what a great episode. And, obviously we're set up next week for what we think is going to be Michonne's final episode, although they haven't said her last episode, so maybe she'll come back at one point. But 10 out of 10, this was an awesome episode of The Walking Dead. Good stuff, good suspense, and then Negan and Carol at the end with Carol saying, took you long enough. That's an interesting... So we know now that based on what she said, that Carol has got to be the one that let Negan out. That's what I thought all the time. It's the only thing that made sense. So again, I'm giving the episode a 10 out of 10. Maybe it doesn't necessarily deserve it because the thing at the hilltop didn't last a long time, but all the suspense and stuff that happened other than that, pretty awesome episode. So make sure you leave your comments with your overall thoughts and score of the episode. Like the video, share the video, and make sure you're subscribed to this channel. And of course, you know that JDab will be back again soon with another. Peace.